Hello everyone, this is MTG Ice Cube back with another video. Today we're going to be looking at some more Pauper. It is Pauper Reanimator. Pauper Black Red Reanimator. And it's a pretty interesting deck. I kind of rearranged this. So it's focused around getting cards in your graveyard and then reanimating them with Exhume. So if you don't know what Exhume does, it is 1 and a black. For a sorcery, each player puts a creature card from his or her graveyard onto the battlefield. So you want to get cards into your graveyard so you can Exhume your Ulamog's Crushers, which are gigantic creatures, 8 mana, 8/8, Annihilator 2, it attacks each turn if able. You Exhume those from your graveyard, and then you just have a huge creature. We also run 2 Eldrazi Devastators, which is just 8 mana, 8/9 trample. Pretty overpowered. If you get those on the board in Pauper, it's normally going to be game over unless someone Doomblades it or something. So we are working on this deck. Let's start with the mana base. So we run 3 Bloodfell Caves, and that is a tap land. Bloodfell Caves enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters, you gain 1 life, and you can tap it to add a red or a black to your mana pool. So, and then we also run 1 Rakdos Carnarium, which is, if you remember from the last video, it's a bounce land. It enters tapped. When it enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand, and then you can tap it to add a red or a black to your mana pool. And we also run 2 Sandstone Needles. Now this is an awesome card. It's one of the Mercadian Masks lands. Mercadian Masks. So it enters battlefield tapped with 2 depletion counters on it. And you can tap it to remove a depletion counter from it, and you add 2 red mana to your mana pool. And if there are no depletion counters on it, you can sacrifice it. So it's basically like a Kickstarter. It gets off to a really fast start. You can have like a land that taps for 2 on turn 2, so you can have 3 mana turn 2, and yeah, so that is a really, really good card for this deck. We also run 10 swamps and 4 islands. 10 swamps and 4 mountains. Sorry. That's pretty much the mana base, or 5 mountains, as a matter of fact. Now, a very crucial card to this deck is Stinkweed Imp. It is 2 and a black for a creature imp, 1/2 flyer. When it deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature. So it's basically like Death Touch. And then it has Dredge 5. Now Dredge is a very interesting mechanic. Dredge is used in Legacy and Modern. It's a really awesome mechanic. If you would draw a card, instead you may put exactly 5 cards from the top of your library into your graveyard. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. Otherwise, draw a card. So this card is Dredge 5. So basically what that means is if this guy is in your graveyard, if you would draw a card, instead put 5 cards into your graveyard and return it from your graveyard to your hand. So if it's in your graveyard, you basically get 5 cards in your graveyard, so you can Exhume one of your big creatures, and then you get this guy back to your hand. So he's really good, used in Modern, and it's an amazing card. We already went over Ulamog's Crushers, so let's have a look at Insolent Neonate. It is a 1 mana 1/1 vampire with Menace, which means it can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. And then it has discard a card, sacrifice Insolent Neonate, draw a card. So in essence, you're paying 1 to get 2 cards in your graveyard. So that's really good. And you get to draw a card. You can have it linger around for a while if you want. You can just attack for it maybe with 1 turn. but you're usually going to sacrifice it because it's just 1 mana, draw a card, get 2 cards into your graveyard. That's really good. Now we also run a Bajuka Bog, which is just kind of, we're in black, so we run Bajuka Bog. It enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from target player's graveyard, and then you tap it to add 1 black to your mana pool. So it's, yeah, again, for against graveyard themed decks. Now, we also run Gurmag Angler, which is one of the most important cards from the last deck tech we did on Blue Black Control. Check that video out. So it's 6 and a black, so 7 mana for a 5/5 Delve. And Delve is each card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell pays for 1. So since you have a ton of cards in your graveyard with all your other like getting cards into your graveyard spells, which we'll go over in a moment, then you just exile some of those cards. Maybe you don't exile your big creatures that you want to exhume with, but you just, like, you can cast it for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, and that's really good since we're getting a big creature and it beats most other creatures in the format. We already went over Eldrazi Devastator, so we run 4 Duress in all, 2 main deck, 2 in the sideboard, just against combo decks, and if we want to like see turn 1 what they've got going on, we'll just Duress them. Now, one of the most important cards, I say that a lot, but it's Faithless Looting. So it's 1 red for a sorcery. You draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards with flashback for 2 and a red. So it's really good because we get to draw 2 cards and then we can also discard cards to get them into our graveyard. So that is like a powerhouse in this deck. It's really good anyway with the flashback, but it's just incredible in this deck. Now, we also run Tormenting Voice, which is the same kind of general effect. 1 and a red, you discard a card, and you draw 2 cards. So, yeah, you're getting to discard a card and draw a card. Or draw 2 cards. So, really good. Exhume, Keep Heart, Lightning Axe. Our resident removal. So as an additional cost to cast it, we can discard a card or pay 5. I know you're thinking this is an uncommon, but it was actually printed at common, not in. This is the Shadows over Innistrad version, but it was printed at common in, I think, Time Spiral, which was a long time ago. So you discard a card or pay 5. So you're just paying, in this deck, you're just paying 1 red to get a card into your graveyard and deal 5 damage to target creature. So it's insane for this deck. You usually think of discarding a card as a drawback, but in this deck, it's actually like a plus. It's a great thing. So Diabolic Edict, 1 of the black, target player sacrifices a creature. Great for like just if you want to get around targeting effects. Shred Memory. So it's 1 and a black for an instant. Remove up to 4 target cards in a single graveyard from the game. So if you don't know it, if like removing from the game is basically the same thing as exiling. So it has Transmute for 3. So you can discard this card, search your library for a card with the same converted mana cost as this card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Play only as a sorcery. So you basically just searching your library for another card that costs 3 mana. Then we also, for sideboard, we covered Duress, Electrickery, Pauper staple, just Electrickery, wipe out, kill token armies if you overload it. and we run 2 more lightning axes in the sideboard. Then last rights. So we run 2 of these, and it is 2 and a black. Discard any number of cards from your hand. Target player reveals his or her hand, and then you choose a non-land card from it for each card discarded that way. That player discards those cards. So just really good if you want to, like, I don't know, discard some cards. We run 3 Smash to Smithereens. It's just artifact removal, deals 3 damage to that artifact's controller. Then we run 1 more Diabolic Edict. And another extremely good card that we actually run main deck, I forgot to mention it, is Dragon Breath. So that is 1 and a red, enchant creature. Enchanted creature is haste, and then you can just pay 1 red to give that creature +1/+0 until end of turn. But the catch to this card is that when a creature with converted mana cost 6 or more comes into play, you may return it from your graveyard into play, enchanting that creature. So if we discard this card or find a way to get it into our graveyard, once we play one of the really big creatures like the Ulamog's Crusher, once we bring that back with Exhume, this Dragon Breath is going to come back and enchant Ulamog's Crusher, giving it haste. So it's basically just like a free give target creature haste. So that is why this card is really good in this deck. And cheap. Pauper is a very cheap format. You can find this deck for about $29, actually. So yeah, that's really good. And another thing, you don't necessarily have to run this. It's not on this list right now, but it's Pyroblast. So that is 1 red for an instant, and you counter target spell if it's blue, or destroy target permanent if it's blue. So we would run 3 of those in our sideboard, but the thing is, it's pretty expensive. It'll kind of bring the cost up to maybe $38, but it's usually going to be worth it, since there are lots of blue decks running around in this format, like Delver of Secrets, Affinity if you want to get rid of their Mole Drifters, and so yeah, it's just insane card. You should probably use it, but it's not necessary. And anyway, thanks for watching. This is MTG Ice Cube. Check out some of my other videos. We're going to be doing some Dominaria stuff once the set comes out. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.